Hello everybody, it is Nicole from Ikiwi and welcome to another review video. So today we are reviewing the OnePix watercolor brush pens, and as a disclaimer, I did receive this item for free in exchange for my honest review. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, it comes in this plastic case, and this is the front and this is the back. I apologize for all the rabbit hair because it was on the floor and Tomi and Tofu decided to run all around it and Tofu is shedding like crazy. So like I said, it comes in a plastic case and there's 24 colors plus a water brush pen. So this is kind of like the blender. So here's the brush pen. It is a clear brush pen and the tip is made of plastic. It's a pretty good size and it's pretty cool that it comes with this in the watercolor brush pen so you can use it for blending. Now for the pens themselves, they have a black barrel. At the end there's the color, and then at this tip there is the brush, and it has a plastic clear cap on top. And here you can see an up close. So now you can see this up close, and I will say that it does feel a little cheap on the barrel part. You can feel that it's a very light plastic, and inside for some reason it shakes a little bit. I'm not sure if this is where the ink is stored, but these are not refillable, so you would have to buy a new one. I just want to mention that this color order is probably not what it came in. I realize now because at the bottom of the case there is a color code for which goes where, but I just put it in whatever order that I thought it would come in because when I received it in the mailbox it was a little bit crushed and all the colors mixed up. On Amazon, this retails for $18 or $17.99 if you want to be specific. When I got these, there was a coupon code for $5 off, which means that it would have been $13. I'm not sure if it's still going on, but if you guys do want to get this, I would wait for the coupon code to come back. I would say these are pretty affordable, and they're good for beginners, especially if you just want to experiment and don't need super high-end ones. So here you see me swatching the colors, and I start from the pinks and I end with the black. And the way I do this is the first third I color in completely with the pen, then I take a water brush pen filled with water and I kind of soak it and I move the color around all the way to the bottom. And then if it's not blended completely, like if there's a clear distinction of line between the pen mark and the watermarks, then I go over it again with the color and I go through the middle in a couple swipes, and then I add a little bit of water to kind of make a gradation. I would say on some of these that worked really well, and some of them, most of them, they didn't because the line was still distinctly there. However, I did find that this kind of happens with all water brush pens. I think it's just because the color is so saturated in the pen and it dries so quickly because there's no water added until later that it kind of sinks into the paper. For this set, it does come with two neon colors, but I would say the most neon color is this yellow, and it's kind of like a highlighter yellow, almost exactly like a highlighter. And when I blended that out, it kind of just got rid of the color, so if you did want to use this color, I wouldn't suggest using water with it. And the other neon color is the very first pink that I used. So out of all the colors, I would say the ones that blended the best were the oranges. I found that almost none of them really left a distinct line. They're all really nice and they blended very well together. And the ones that showed the most distinction between the actual marker and the water, I would say is the purple. The purple had a very clear line and it was really hard to get rid of it. And I think that I found that the darker the color, the harder it is to actually make it blend. I would say that if you kept layering it, it would probably blend over time. But if you just want a quick kind of blend, or you just wanted one layer of this color, then it wouldn't really work. And I guess you could put the water down first and then the pen, but the thing with these watercolor brush pens is that if you do that, it kind of sucks all the color out of the tip of the pen, and it just makes it clear. So now let's talk about the drawing itself. I used several different colors, mainly the brown color for her skin, and then I used the dark brown for her hair, but I also added in red. One of the things that I found difficult, but this was all my fault, was when I did the lips, I didn't let the skin dry. So I highly recommend that you let the underlayer dry completely before adding on another color, because as you see in the video, the lips bleed into the skin and then it creates this kind of red halo around her mouth. I was able to cover it later on, but that was one of the issues that I found, not because of the pen itself, but just because of my lack of patience. When applying this pen to the paper, it seems kind of dry, but I found this kind of happens with all water brush pens. If you use wet paper with it, it just soaks all the color out, so you have to apply it dry. The only issue I find with water brush pens is that if it's too dark and you don't wet it fast enough, it kind of makes a defined shape on whatever you're trying to do, and for the face I didn't want that to happen. So I did initially start with some water, but of course this drains all the color out and makes it very watered down. But I dried that layer and then I added another layer and I continued that process. For the hair, I started off with the dark brown, but later on I added in red. When I added in the red, it did lighten up the brown significantly and it made it almost more pink. Depending on how you want to add in the color, it just depends on your process. So if you wanted in the red that was more saturated, then I wouldn't water it down like I did, but since I wanted to blend it a little bit more, I added in water and then it kind of diluted the brown. Now for the cardigan, I think that this part is where the water brush pens shine the most. I chose red just because I had red in our hair. Originally it was going to be teal, but I didn't really like the teal colors that they had in the set. At least they had a nice light teal, but I wanted a dark teal. So instead I just used red, although I probably would change it to a different one if I had another choice to redo it. But anyways, going back to the water brush pens, I feel like this is where they are the most useful because you can create patterns but also get the color that you want. So for any other watercolor, I would usually start with the base color first, but then I would have to let it dry and then add the lines on top, which I created for the stitching. However, this would create almost a very crisp line. But for the water brush pens, what I did was I did the crisscrosses first to create that stitched look on the cardigan, and then I let that dry completely. I used the heat gun and made sure it was dry, and then I went over with a wet brush and I just washed over the entire thing. So what this does is that it picks up the color that I used from the crosses and then it washes over the entire cardigan, which gives it this almost pink color. It also softens the crosses that I made so they're not crisp and clear, so they're more soft and almost representing more fabric and soft textures. And it also gives the color to the cardigan without taking away the detail of the cross stitching. So I really like how that method turned out, and I think it worked out really well. I think it helps emulate what I was trying to do with the cardigan and with the water brush pens, and I think it was pretty successful. So overall, I think this is a good set for beginners, whoever wants to try out water brush pens. I think that it has a good range of color and I like the blending. There are links down below if you guys want to purchase it, but I would wait for a sale because it seems to go on sale quite often and you can get it at a discounted price. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and enjoyed the review. And with that, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Keep drawing, keep painting, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!